Good morning, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of the Design Talk program by RiFRA. Today's guest is architect Luca Labita. Hey, Luca.
Hello, good morning, everyone. Welcome.
Thanks. Luca is the founder of Labita, an Italian house enhancement laboratory. But before we start, acronym.
Welcome to Design Talk. Design Talk is the first talk show and podcast dedicated to architects and the world of design. We discuss design, marketing, market, product, materials. Design Talk, sponsored by RiFRA. Kitchens and beds, direct from Milan.
Well, welcome back to this new episode. I recall that our guest for today is Luca. However, before delving into the core of your numerous and highly intriguing projects, would you like to inform our viewers about the beginnings of your career and, most importantly, how your passion for construction originated?
The passion for construction is deeply ingrained in my family because I grew up with the scent of iron. My father has always been a blacksmith, so working with dry constructions on site. In short, he introduced me to this world of craftsmanship. However, my mother has always been concerned about the house, hospitality, and order, so I believe it is a reasonable agreement between my mother and father to have introduced me to construction, primarily focusing on building and renovating houses.
What was your educational path tied to this passion specifically?
So I see myself as more technical. I started as a surveyor, then moved towards architecture, and graduated from the Polytechnic University of Milan in 2006. I gained experience through internships and stages during my studies, and my professional career began as a result of these experiences.
Have you promptly commenced on the journey of self-employment, or has there been any other alternative course of action?
As I think is right, a few years to gain experience, collaborating with studios on a daily basis, and then gradually, after 3 or 4 years, starting to carve out one's own spaces, therefore with one's own clients, giving small interventions, up to the first major intervention, which is already in 2009, therefore 3 years after graduating in the historic center of Saronno, followed everything from design to implementation. From there then, actually, it was already in mind prior to commencing the freelance profession with complete autonomy. That was the starting point that subsequently prompted me to take that crucial step, which I believe is a goal that every professional in my field aspires to accomplish.
What ambition in brief to establish your own studio, but what characterizes this studio of yours?
From the beginning, I have tried to work alongside very professional people, and our profession, in fact, in recent years has become highly specialized. Therefore, thinking of being able to tackle a construction site with all its problems and even the design almost independently is practically impossible today. So I have a team of collaborators in the studio with me every day, in addition to a series of technical figures who collaborate depending on the various projects that need to be carried out and followed on site throughout the course of their development and implementation.
But specifically, do you want to tell us? Would you like to tell us about the jobs you've chosen in your studio?
Yes, definitely. Thanks for the question. I, as stated initially, see myself as highly technical. I prefer monitoring construction sites over being in the office. The person who works alongside me every single day to help me develop and enhance this skill of mine spends almost the entire duration of the work path, and the work path itself occurs exclusively within the office premises. In the office with me is architect Roberta Belleni, my wife, who handles the artistic aspect of the projects. Then we have 2 additional architects who specialize in their respective skills, contributing to a more administrative and bureaucratic aspect of the work. This includes obtaining permits and conducting various checks that must be completed prior to commencing work on site. We also have another team member who is responsible for managing client relationships within the studio. This involves handling various contracts and assisting clients in selecting finishes. Additionally, a 5th team member joined us several months ago. Their role is to create models and renderings, as presenting a project without these visual representations and scale models has become a disadvantage in today's industry. So it is crucial that the client possesses the complete understanding of the entirety of what we need to develop for them. Linking clients.
Are they the profiles of your customers?
Yes, primarily there are two types. Individuals who possess their own property, whether it is an apartment or a house of varying sizes, must undergo a renovation procedure that can be more or less comprehensive, depending on the budget and expectations they have established. While the second one, which is the one that amuses me a little more, is the one who possesses the land or is searching for a solution to construct new houses. In the past few years, our specialization has been in the design and construction of XLAM wood houses, encompassing all the advanced technologies and techniques required for this specific type of construction project. And it is an exceptionally beautiful path, particularly because we witness its birth from empty ground, even as we search for land for clients who request our assistance in identifying the space that will eventually see their own house grow, all the way through to the actual delivery of the keys, marking the culmination of their dream home journey. So we also handle the complete construction of these XLAM buildings in the studio.
But providing additional detail regarding the renovation client, what is your approach when a client visits the studio with an interest in renovation and wants to discuss their project and requirements?
Those who have to face a renovation usually have clearer ideas because they probably already live in the space they have to renovate or have already seen it because they bought it or it is a family property, they inherited it. These are more or less the cases. Therefore, he already possesses clear ideas, having conducted prior research on the internet rather than relying on various social media platforms for verification in order to envision and dream about what he will encounter. Consequently, our approach in this particular case is to accompany and guide him, directing his needs and aspirations towards a concrete direction that can be truly realized and experienced. Both in terms of spaces, because we can imagine that maybe a customer has desired a particular kitchen rather than a specific living room, but then it needs to be adjusted to the specific reality, and in terms of budget, because there are interventions that can be more or less expensive. So being able to channel these ideas while still satisfying the customer, because ultimately it is the house that they will live in, so they will see it every day, their own emotions, their own family, the guests. So we have to be able to create all these spaces for the different daily moments of life.
Instead, when you come across a customer who wants to build a new house, what is the process, and most importantly, what are the distinctions?
Whoever is tasked with constructing a new house has something less concrete to visualize, because it is highly likely that there will be an empty plot of land instead of existing houses to demolish or renovate, to expand. Therefore, it is hardly a space that is already accustomed to living, and their dreams are usually much bigger because, understandably, if there is nothing, I like to imagine the maximum potential that I can have from the available land that I possess. And it is more enjoyable for us in the studio. It is a means for us to dream as well, so always channel, as in the initial instance, those ideas and requirements that the client has. This process allows us to stay connected to the client's vision, ensuring that we can meet their needs and go above and beyond in our creative work. And dream together, then proceed to create the volumes primarily. We seldom start from the floor plan design, but we immediately commence with 3D modeling, so we frequently provide the client with renders and almost always models. 3D models that can be opened rather than simply peering inside the premises. Because lacking the material, as I mentioned earlier, lacking the experience of those spaces, you must provide the customer with the chance to contemplate it in order to be able to relate to it. And then, arrived at the volume, instead of the colors that the customer expects and that we choose for him, we delve into detail, so the more technical detail can be more boring for some. But I'm observing that many customers pay attention to the technical aspect, which can be the heating system and renewable energies, which are elements that in recent years have become very important, not only because they are imposed on us by various European directives, but because the customer is more sensitive to this aspect of consumption.
Now, Luca, let's get into the heart of the project. Let's start with the field of renovation. Would you like to provide details on the Sky project conducted in Sicily with us?
Yes, it was an extremely important project, a significant operation for me, both because I had to deal with a reality that was completely different from ours, the municipal administration for various permits, authorizations because they were situated in the historic center. The superintendents, and I must say that overall I felt very good. I found very timely, very helpful and supportive realities throughout the process. However, it was a realization that completely transformed an apartment situated on the second floor of a small ground sky building with the ground floor and first floor occupied by other properties. The second floor, being at a high elevation, provided us with a voluminous sea view terrace. This terrace, which is the main attraction of the apartment, is the reason it is named Sky. I have personally experienced the terrace's beauty, even during summer evenings. In summary, the breathtaking view of the starry sky over the sea is a truly valuable feature. And we have encountered some difficulties in external interventions because precisely on the internal side we have redone everything from the floors, the systems, the floors, while as for the external aspect, facade and roofs, we were very bound by the constraints of the superintendents. So even just being able to install photovoltaic panels, heat pumps, we made it, respecting everything we had to respect. But there the process took a little longer. So this house is very efficient, practically zero emissions, because there the sun is present 10 months a year. It is also an important sun. The house is a bit taller than the neighboring ones, which contributes to its unique charm and character, making it stand out in the neighborhood. The weather is extremely sunny with a significant amount of natural solar input and a strong emphasis on generating energy from renewable sources. There are photovoltaic panels, a hot water storage on the roof that practically makes the water hot by itself without having to start the heat pump, all in a hot-cold heat pump for humidification and ventilation. We have restored the historic floors, the cement tiles that we have dated to approximately 100 years ago. So I recall I witnessed the workers cleaning them individually, removing the stucco, recovering the enamel, and it was truly a very pleasant intervention, particularly because it was complemented with the parquet, which I have to say is utilized to a lesser extent there in comparison to us. However, combined with the cement tiles, this color with blue tones, which reminds of the sea, truly conveys the idea of what we wanted to communicate to the client.
Speaking once more about renovation, we would like to showcase the Refuge project to our audience. This time we are situated on Lake Maggiore.
On Lake Maggiore, the client base is completely different, as it entails a single-family property, thus comprising both ground and sky components with a total of 2 floors. The approach is essentially identical to what we observed with Sky in Sicily with regards to the installation process. Here, the available choices for finishes have been different due to geolocation reasons and varying preferences. Obviously, the first one is used for more summery use, and therefore, well, with the heat, certain colors were fine. In this location, the lake exhibits entirely different atmospheres and attracts a completely different clientele. What I want to clarify, which is also the method we like to use, we like to share with customers more than transmit to customers, is that all our creations must have that domestic atmosphere that perhaps comes from my origins that I mentioned earlier on in the conversation we had. More space is allocated, greater importance is placed on the update spaces, conviviality spaces, and the kitchen, simply because that is the primary focal point of the house, in my opinion, and according to all of my collaborators and colleagues who have provided input.
Instead, regarding let's proceed to the new constructions, would you like to inform us about the ARC project that was implemented in the province of Como?
So, ARC is the very first project in Exlam that was completely designed and followed through to completion by my studio, making it a significant milestone. And I had a strong desire, just because it was the first I wanted to almost experience what it's like to be a laborer. So in every operation, in every intervention, in every entry of workers, I made sure to be present, documenting every moment of the realization. And in some ways, I had to prioritize a little humility, because many aspects, being new technology for me during those years, required me to be the one asking questions, the one who was always actively involved in the process. I have to say that even today, I believe it is the most successful realization on a global scale, both in terms of composition and interior design, for that atmosphere I was telling you about earlier. It is a house located in Islam, so wood is not used as a prefabricated construction material. I want to clarify that Islam is simply the load-bearing component that substitutes brick rather than reinforced concrete in the construction process. And then everything that comes after the Islam is carried out with the highest level of craftsmanship that is achievable. So starting from the outer coating to the internal finishes, including walls, insulations, and distinctive features on the houses that we construct and design using Islam, there are ventilated aluminum facades. In the present day, we are increasingly confronted with the challenge of dealing with this erratic and extreme weather. Therefore, the ventilated aluminum facade plays a vital role in preventing significant damage to the structure, such as water infiltrations after hailstorms or displacement of tiles. These situations require immediate attention and resolution. Hence, the presence of a ventilated aluminum facade is crucial for safeguarding the integrity and longevity of the structure in the face of such adverse weather conditions, ensuring minimal impact and timely mitigation of potential risks. Aluminum generates a layer on the surface, which serves as a protective barrier for the coat, enhancing its strength and providing it with added durability. I always provide my clients with the example of envisioning themselves going out in the rain while wearing a raincoat, or going out in the rain while wearing a raincoat and carrying an umbrella. You comprehend that the difference is crucial, as not wetting the raincoat or limiting it in any way. Diversity. Getting the raincoat wet, everything is better conserved.
Staying within the scope of the new project, I would like to present the Cube project, which is currently in the process of being developed. So we have a few renderings to showcase.
Yes, then, Cube compared to ARK is a project that I have personally always followed with the assistance, as stated, with all the collaborators, both in the land acquisition phase, during the performance, and throughout the realization process. And then we will proceed. In fact, nearly all of them are already reserved to directly market the units that will be created and offer them for sale. Cube is, as mentioned, currently under construction. We have finished all the excavations. Today, they are installing the crane, and there is already material on site, specifically the X-lam, to ensure prompt and efficient progress with the construction process. As I have been doing recently, I will create time-lapse videos so that it will be possible to see all the stages of the construction process in an accelerated manner. This service is of great importance to me because it demonstrates to the customer the apparent simplicity, which is actually far more complex than it appears. Additionally, it enables effective management of a construction site of this nature, as opposed to a traditional brick or reinforced concrete site, which presents its own set of challenges and considerations. The primary strength of Cube lies in its capability to guarantee the future maintenance of the property. I utilize materials and systems that minimize maintenance and expenses for individuals who will subsequently acquire these structures. Therefore, I propose implementing a ventilated aluminum facade for both the roof and walls on all sides, except for certain areas where the facade is less exposed and can be finished simply with a coat in order to ensure proper ventilation and protection. This is not so much for the purpose of savings or situations of that kind, but simply to provide a contrast between the ventilated facade and the one that is not covered in aluminum material. And this contrast highlights the materials even more. We experimented extensively with colors, which led to an interesting anecdote. When we initially started designing, I entrusted my 10-year-old son with the task of selecting 4 colors for the facades. He had a blast choosing the colors, although we didn't end up using all of them. Nevertheless, it served as a starting point for our design process. This anecdote exemplifies my commitment to infusing playfulness into our office environment considering we spend a minimum of 8 hours a day working. I firmly believe that these hours should be as enjoyable as possible, and this approach is reflected in how we approach our design work. I am concerned about the impact on the environment. Subsequently, all the partners recognize these aspects and ultimately gain a deeper understanding, as engaging in activities that you enjoy leads to increased passion and greater accomplishments. When we look at the Cube project, we can see that it features a highly significant photovoltaic system, which includes storage that is already provided to the future buyer. The system operates using a heat pump, specifically an air-to-air heat pump, and is complemented by a wooden fiber coat, making it an intervention that avoids the use of plastic materials. With the exception of providing necessary protection towards the ground, which is mandatory to prevent the wood from being damaged by moisture from the ground, the construction phase of these construction sites is significantly faster compared to the traditional one. The first block of 3 villas is built in approximately 12 to 15 months, making it quite fast. Additionally, in one of these sites, as I mentioned before, it is my pleasure to announce that we will be collaborating with RiFRA for the furnishings. My goal is to deliver one of the 3 houses fully furnished. I believe that by providing support to the customer and making decisions about the internal furniture, we can convey something more than just finishes, floors, and windows. This approach allows us to create a unique and personalized experience for our clients.
We talked about various projects in Sicily on Lake Maggiore, but where is your studio located? And above all, what is your area of expertise?
So, the study is a component of a highly aged structure. It was the previous reading room where they used to manufacture record players. And as for me, I have managed to create a personal space within this massive factory situated in Saronno, right in front of the mines of the station. The choice of this particular place is strategic because, being in close proximity to the train, it is also highly convenient for customers from all across Italy, as we have witnessed the various interventions and actions that I have personally carried out outside of our designated territory. Getting to Saronno is easy, thanks to its proximity to airports, but mainly by train. It is a space that, in my opinion, reflects a lot about what our real work is like. It is indeed true that it was born exactly from a factory many years ago, up until just a few years ago, when that space was utilized as both a warehouse and a laboratory for various purposes. We've, in brief, gutted and revamped all, creating an environment that is, at least in our view, very welcoming and comfy. The area of expertise is, as we have observed, slightly larger. Let us assume that we are aiming for interventions that are slightly more significant, not only from an economic perspective, but also on an emotional level. Let's assume that instead of the core of the activity we carry out being in the Varese area, it is primarily located in Como, specifically the Varese and Verbania regions, with some involvement in Piedmont, which encompasses the shores of Lake Maggiore. In short, I'm trying to negotiate. In recent years, I have been able to move my activity in that direction a bit because I love the lake, and being able to spend hours on site, occasionally turning around and seeing landscapes that are not beautiful. For goodness sake, they will be. It's a whole different way of working.
Thanks, Luca.
Thank you, Laura. I thank RiFRA for this moment, this opportunity. Surely we will have the opportunity to collaborate a lot on my projects, on yours.
Without a doubt. So thank you once again for graciously being our esteemed guest.
Thanks, Laura. Thanks all of you at RiFRA and the viewers. I'll see you in the studio.
I just leave a few links to get in touch with you and your Labita Studio. You can find all the links in the overlay and also in the description of the video on YouTube. Thank you again, and best regards to all our viewers. See you soon.
RiFRA, Kitchens and Beds, direct from Milano.